And welcome aboard. My apologies for this technical difficulties.
And Garrett, shut up over there.
Just 1 minute, please. I think that'll do.
Goes around was finally unleashed upon the world. The reviews were, well, mixed. Some critics dismissed it as generic, cookie-cutter glam rock that missed its moment. But for the fans, it was a total blast. Fun, hook-filled slice of rock and roll. And it had a secret weapon. That weapon was a power ballad, the essential currency in any late 80s rock band. Theirs was called I Hate Kissing You. It was unique, emotional, and ridiculously catchy. Music with masterpiece, dramatic shouting, and wind machine assisted scare was set to MTV, and then the impossible happened. It became a smash hit on Dial MTV, the network's daily video request show, climbed the charts, eventually landing at the #3 spot, right behind two little bands named Guns N' Roses.
We were in Boston.
But for a band that had been slogging it out for 6 years, this was like winning the lotto. They're finally on the big stage, rubbing shoulders with the heroes. Success propelled them across the Atlantic for a tour in England. They had a run for about 15 minutes. While celebrating their tour in England, they had a run for about 15 minutes. While celebrating their first taste of mainstream success, a seismic shift was happening for New England. A few hundred miles up the coast of Seattle, a flannel-clad trio led by a disgruntled blonde dude named Kurt Cobain was about to drop a bomb on the entire music industry. That bomb was called Nevermind. The rise of Nirvana grunge movement wasn't just a change of pace. Really a hostile takeover. Suddenly the flashy, fun-loving, party-all-night ethos of glam metal seemed ridiculous. Actually, really seemed fully cool during this time. Big hair, makeup, power ballads, they're all a punchline overnight. Fans traded those leather pants for ripping the music industry. It was a soulless trend change. Months after they had recorded the second album for the Spirit, to add insult to injury, Atlantic's new golden child, their answer to Nirvana was Stone Temple Pilots. The party was officially over. The rug had been pulled out from underneath them. Strike began almost immediately. Bassist Phil people would have given up. Bolted gear,
Hello, Charles. Any luck finding our mystery woman?
Word is she's been stirring up trouble just outside the city in a town called Lexington.
Well, then that's where we'll begin our search. I'll meet you there.
Down goes Bob's group. Record labels wouldn't have doing itself. In 94, he founded his own label, more or less records. The initial tip for Rochelle's Blair song, but also had much more fitting authority record label stuff. Operating as a one-man army out of his garage, he prepared to release Tubbs' next album. New records, initially titled Fist First, was a deliberate move away from their pop metal sound. Heavier, angrier, more in line with the changing times. The problem was nobody wanted it. Not the labels, not the consumers. Glam fans thought it was too heavy. The new grunge fans wouldn't touch a band like Tough with a 10-foot pole. So it ended up flopping commercially. By the end of 95, the label support and the revolving door of musicians, Stevie and Jorge, the last men standing, finally put Tough on ice. But for a few years at Steve, that was the end of the story. Stevie wasn't done with the music industry. He just found a new way to terrorize it. 98 was co-founded in the early days of the internet. It was a revolutionary, completely crazy platform.
Thumbstick wood.
Allowed him to write savage, unbiased, honest, even about his own group. Metal Sludge,
Or excuse me, L3 would actually make them go any faster.
And of course, for its legendary Divas chart, the user submitted ranking of rock stars based upon their endowment. It was practical, and it was absolutely essential reading for a lot of people. The site regularly broke major news stories, like band reunions, lineup changes, music runs, and it was Stevie's ultimate revenge on the industry that passed him aside. He couldn't get on the chart, so he created a platform to dictate the version. Seizing the moment, Stevie and Rochelle relaunched Top in 2000. Marked their return, they released a compilation album called The History of Top. Tucked away on that album was a new track, a song that would become the band's unlikely anthem for the 21st century. It was called American Airman. Hilarious and brutally self-aware parody of Kid Rock's hit American Dad. And it was a middle finger to critics and a love letter to the scene that burst them. Rochelle rapped lyrics like Give Pearl Jam and Eddie a big fuck you, and humorously owned their lack of commercial success line. I went platinum 0 times. Total stroke of genius. The song became an underground cult hit, getting radio play and proving that Tough and Stevie Rochelle still had a sense of humor and a fight left in them. However, the new chapter wasn't without its own set of professional habits. In 2003, the band got a huge offer. $10,000 to fly to Hungary and play a massive festival alongside legends like Sister, Scorpion. Huge opportunity. Stevie, never the promoter, immediately went to work, documenting the whole process. He had custom tortures printed up and arranged international flights for the entire group. Fronted his own money for monthly $1,500 for the merchandise. Everything was set. And then the day before, they were scheduled to fly out the entire festival. So example of the shady, fly-by-night nature of the music business. Rochelle was out a significant amount of cash, but holding a box full of useless t-shirts. But after weeks of persistence and resistance negotiation with the promoter, he managed to recoup his loss. Small victory that really showed the constant battle and trust issues inherent in being a working musician. Now, in the years since, Top has settled into a couple of groups. They become what you might call a legacy act or a part-time band. Original bassist Todd Chase, he was made after a 15-year absence. They don't tour relentlessly anymore. Said to do about 15 to 30 flyaway dates a year, playing their greatest hits for nostalgic fans and major metal festivals like M3 Music Festival and Monsters Rock Spring. These festivals have become their bread and butter. Reliable circuit where they're celebrated, not dismissed. In 2021, Steve Rochelle, ever the hustler, managed to personally secure master tape school. Comes around, goes around, from Born Music Group after months of pestering them. Released the 30th anniversary edition of Part
Yep.
of Untracked.
No, he said he was going to come home tomorrow.
Drummer Michael Lee will be gone for over 30 years, reunited with the band on stage and very hard.
We had auction today, but I thought auctions were usually Friday.
No, they're Thursdays. Actually,
Did you go with your dad or something?
no, I didn't know what they were doing.
Or did you meet your brother?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. So what'd you do?
We went to the mall.
Oh, you and Gabe and Dylan? Me
Yep.
and Garrett and Dylan?
Yeah, and then afterwards we went to Best Buy, and then Andy's.
I'm surprised you didn't see your dad. I think it's hot him out of town, ain't they?
She's in town.
Tracy is in town?
Yeah, we were at their house. Mm-mm. I thought it was Monday. Ah.
So, because I want to make up my time I missed yesterday because I went to meet Mama on him yesterday and I left work.
Ah. Ash. Who's a good puppy? He's a good puppy.
What? It means I gotta progress the game. As quickly as possible. Oh, I see now. Oops. My bad, folks. Alright, let's get this party started.
Have you found her?
She's made camp not too far from here.
Excellent. Well, the sooner we're done, the sooner we can get out of this cold.
We'll move faster on horseback. I am afraid I have some bad news, sir.
Oh?
Braddock is insisting I return to service under him. I've tried to beg off, to no avail.
No doubt he's still angry about losing Pitcairn. To say nothing of the shaming we gave him. Do as he asks. In the meantime, I'll work on having you released.
I'm sorry for the trouble.
Not your fault.
We're too late.
Fire's only just been snuffed. Snow recently disturbed. She's close.
Onyx.
These tracks are fresh. They must be hers.
Why would Lenore travel thousands of miles to get permanent dental implants? Most dental implant offices made.
Seems she took... to higher ground.
There comes a time
Out of the
in
snow
life
and into
of
the
every
trees.
crazy fan when the reserved genius of Larry Fine is fully realized. As a kid, it was so easy to get lost in watching the big personalities of Moe, Curly, or Shep clash with one another on screen. But as I got older, my eyes began to wander to the stooge opposite most of the action. Larry. What do you know about God? That's fine, give me. Whose brilliance is evident not only in his simple reactions. Any questions?
Is it true that time favorite children are the direct ratio of inside present solar radiation?
But also his incredible delivery and comedic timing. What'd he say? He was often referred to as the middle stooge, providing middle ground between Moe's bossiness and Curly or Shep's stagey antics, most of the time falling victim to their fighting, simply by trying to be the voice of reason. Hey, what you think of these? What do you think of these? What I've come to love most about Larry as a stooge is just how he can never seem to get a leg up. I think I got something. What's up with me? He not only gets hit for trying to break up the violence, he also gets hit when simply reacting to someone else getting hit. Or when he tries to take control himself and fall. Or he'll just get slapped for answering too slow. How many % Oh, hey. I've even seen him get slapped just for being there. A true victim of circumstance. Well, it's too Yes, fine. Yet it never stopped his character from trying to interfere, adding an essential bit of pacing to any Stooge's slapstick sequence. But underneath his portrayal as the reserved middle stooge was a complex performer who helped balance out the Stooge's acting for nearly 5 minutes. Whenever someone calls Larry their favorite Stooge, you know that they aren't a true fan, as it takes hours of watching the Three Stooges to fully appreciate just how vital he was. Hey, Bobby, this is the story of Larry Fine, the middle stooge. You started everything. Oh, I can't see. I can't see. It's closed. And look, it's brown. Come on. I always identify with Larry the most, particularly because we share a hometown, as well as a love for Tasty Cakes. He was born in Louis Steinberg in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Later in life, when he retired, house in Woodland Hills, California, he would host many
Come back!
If they came from the East Coast, he would sometimes
To return to Braddock, Charles, before he grows suspicious. I can handle things from here.
But sir,
But nothing. Go. Stop running. I only wish to talk.
Marked by a wonderful mural above the restaurant.
I am not your enemy.
Years ago, though. And if someone is smart enough,
Please
they will
just hear
buy
me
it
out.
and name it what it should have always been called.
Godswoman, only let me speak. Enough with these games.
Want to go in on it with me?
It is imperative that...
Larry's father was the shop was on the first floor. It was suggested that he take up violin lessons to help strengthen the also, he was still a violinist in the process. It's talent that he later displayed in many secrets. Larry's talent as a violinist would eventually lead to him pursuing a career. He spent most of the 1920s touring the vaudeville circuit in the country. It was at a performance in Chicago in 1926 that Larry met Ted Healy and Shen Howard. Shen was leaving Healy's act, and needed to find a temporary replacement. Shen and Healy saw Larry perform and greatly admired his style and timing. He was asked to temporarily...
You try my patience, woman!
Eventually, Shen Howard would rejoin the act, bringing along his brother. By then, he had become a fixture of the act himself, and both Larry and Shen became Ted Healy's stooges. While touring in vaudeville, Larry would also meet his wife, Mabel. They were married in 1926 and remained together until their death in 1967.
Are you touched in the head?
Me, Hatham. I come in peace.
Why are you speaking so slow?
Sorry.
What do you want?
Well, your name, for one.
I'm Gadzit Zio.
Pleased to meet you. Gadzit
Just call me Zio.
Dio.
Zio.
Dio.
Now tell me why it is you're here.
To learn more about how Curly came to replace Shen. By 1930,
Where did you get this?
From an old friend.
I've only seen such markings in one other place.
Where?
Subject for Columbia,
Well, it is forbidden for me to speak of it.
I saved your people. Does this mean nothing to you? Look, I am not the enemy.
I don't really care about this. But this whole thing, I really...
For being their first official film as the Three Stooges, Woman Haters is not your typical Stooge short. All dialogue is delivered in rhyme. Say, by the way, don't we leave for the road tonight? What day is this? The 23rd.
That town hosts soldiers who seek to drive my people from these lands. They're led by a man known as the Bulldog.
Let's take another sip.
Edward Braddock.
You know him?
He is no friend of mine.
Every day, more of my people are lost to men like him.
Suggest we put a stop to it. Together.
What do you propose?
That we kill Edward Braddock. But first, we have to find him.
Realigned for their second short, French Drunks. I love this short. I lost my ballet. Oh, you're lost your ballet. Yeah.
I don't trust you.
I know.
Yet you remain.
Shorts that begins with the Stooges characters not knowing one another.
But I might...
And so the Three Stooges began
Wait
their
here.
lengthy career on
A
camera
Mohawk man is likely to raise suspicions, if not muskets.
This is hardly the first time I've been amongst your people. I can handle myself.
I hope so.
Though their title cards would change plenty of times throughout the years, Larry was always positioned in the middle, perfectly representing his position in the act. As I said in the intro, I just love how Lowry balances out Moe and Curly's antics.
On the way!
Moe. I'm sorry. Don't worry about it, kid. It was only a night. I also love how Lowry wasn't afraid to get a little surreal every now and again himself.
Hey, Mo, I'm picking him up.
And Lowry's craziness was always a lot different than Moe and Curly's.
Are you listening? Does the mouse see the cat? Yes, the dirty right. Yeah.
With him having some of the darkest comedy of the three.
Wait a minute. Let's plug him and see if he's right.
At story conferences, Lowry was always the first to suggest the craziest ideas.
Oh, Mother, I don't want to tell Papa on you. The government's still talking. What's the matter with him? I'm still in one piece.
And his favorites, shorts, were always the most bizarre, like 1952's Cuckoo on the Choo Choo, which were a form and saw Lowry playing a railroad hobo, parodying Marlon Brando.
Oh, will you tell him to shut up? You know what? Fight him all. I'd like I'm a fuck in the nose. And who's going to give it to me? I'm going to give it to you right then. Baby.
Aside from suggesting surreal dark comedy bits, Lowry usually trusted Moe to handle most of the important decisions for the Stooges. He always preferred watching baseball and relaxing with his family instead. When Shemp rejoined the act in 1947, little changes in Lowry's performance. Despite losing Curly, Moe and Lowry synced up with Shemp like no time had passed in the 15 years since he had left the act. When Shemp died suddenly in 1955, Moe and Lowry considered continuing the act as a duo. While I mean no disrespect to Joe Besser or Joe DeRita, I would have at least been curious to see what Moe and Lowry as a duo would have been like. In a few Stooges shorts, Moe and Lowry often had subplots together, while Curly or Shemp had their own independent plots. I've always loved those scenes between just the two of them.
So did you? Where do you think you're from? We're going to see your friend, Charlie. Charlie. You know Charlie. Oh, like this? Yeah, he's from the band station ingrown here. He starts out like this. I better have another drink. I can still see your face. Right. Right, guy. Hey, see you like that.
Can't stand being quartered there. The endless crashing of the waves, the sting of the salt in my eyes, and the goddamn gulls shrieking and shitting everywhere.
You're sure that's where we're going?
Aye, the Bulldog's putting together another expedition.
That's what they're calling them now. Expeditions.
Aye, smart too. Slap a fancy name on something and all evil is excused.
It was during these later Stooges shorts that they would also change their appearance on screen. Approaching 60, Larry and Moe would sometimes comb back their hair, trying to appear more gentler in their old age. The Stooges would find renewed success in the 60s, when their shorts were sold to television syndication. As Joe Besser wasn't able to do live performances due to his sick wife, Joe DeRita and Curly Joe became the third Stooges for this final ending of the act. Well, Larry felt right at the on the road again. Sadly, his wife Mabel, who had died suddenly of a heart attack, was about to take the stage in Rhode Island. This came only 6 years after Larry and Mabel had lost their son John in a car accident. While the student remained active until the late 60s,
Can't stand being quartered there. The endless crashing of the waves, the sting of the salt in the eyes, and the goddamn gulls shrieking and shitting everywhere.
You're sure that's where we're going?
Aye. The Bulldog's putting together another expedition.
That's what they're calling them now.
Dude,
Expeditions.
Aye. Smart too. Slap a fancy name on something and all evil is excused.
1970. Larry spent the remaining 5 years of his life hosting fans, young and old, in his apartment in the motion picture country home. He made himself readily available, answering fan mail and phone calls as frequently as he could.
I hear tell the French are readying to move in our positions. I wonder what Braddock intends to do about it.
He's already left for the advance camp. I'll wager our little holiday here is just about ended. We'll be marching south before week's end.
When looking at the studio's 4-decade film career, Larry was an essential part of the act. What we know learned to adapt the act around the third stooge. The same could have been done for Larry. He rooted out the trio perfectly.
Where you going,
and
Cully?
Balance and brilliance that made the act last as long as it did.
The other cock robbing.
I was listening.
In a hotel? That's a bathtub, you with missiles?
And now?
Go take a bath.
Oh, now?
Oh, yes it is.
I'm going to feed you your teeth.
And you were worried I was going to be the problem?
The next time you watch the Three Stooges, I encourage you to let your eyes wander. The student Larry.
Do you have any bug bombs? I'll see if the band can play.
You're hurt.
Oh, it's nothing.
I need to state that I feel this film does not belong in the same category as the other forgotten failures I have done. I don't think it's a full-blown failure, but more of a creative misfire. I am surprised that just about 8 years after its release, no one has really talked about it. I never hear it quoted or referenced, and it seems to be a distant memory for even those that enjoyed it. At its core, it's actually a pretty decent love letter to the Three and slapstick genre as a whole. It's written and directed by the Farley brothers, guys who really respect the Three Stooges and pay tribute to them for most of their careers. They definitely brought the band, I would say, anybody in my lifetime. It's obvious that they put the effort to try to closely replicate the style of the original shorts. How do I know this, you ask? Well, I actually have a pretty close personal history with this movie, but I'll get to that later. For starters, the test to make a new Three Stooges movie without the Three Stooges impossible. Mainly because the actual Three Stooges have been dead for decades.
Can you imagine if someone was standing in a fucking monument?
The summaries I said there, a lot of these comedy team acts were made up of performances rooted in actual people who transcended their screen characters. Therefore, this movie does fail at being a Three Stooges movie, but it kind of succeeds at being a tribute to the Three Stooges. We took this pretty serious because we love them, and some people are saying, well, it's sacked to make it a Three Stooges movie. You know, I don't know why people say that, but our feeling was exactly that kids don't know them today because the ones that are the all-time funny guys, we wanted to bring them back. Why bring them back? We wanted to do justice. So who's to blame for this movie's misfire? how the third studio was replaced to keep the act going. Even when Chef died, Mo had the choice of finding a replacement for his own brother to keep the act going. Mo even almost had latter conflicts. The reason I bring this up and talk about the 2012 movie is that this movie happened to one that went through many changes. It was never solely about Mo Loud Colonel. Mo, however, he loved the idea that the act started entertaining kids with own type for new generations and hence why they were released through these comics and cartoons even into the 70s. I don't know for sure what they would have thought of this movie, but I think Mo at least would have been tickled that the act he, his brothers, and their close friend started close to 100 years earlier was still getting attention. This movie had bounced around different studios all throughout the 2000s. I can't blame studios for not wanting to make a financial investment in an IP that had been dormant for 40 plus years.
Use the snowstorm to mask our approach.
The studio was like, I don't know, but is the audience ready for this kind of stuff?
Having second thoughts?
Eventually, it landed at Fox. Wanted to cast
I can hide in that cart.
and Jim Carrey in the lead roles. Jim Carrey was even planning on gaining the weight he needed to play early. I'm happy that this fell apart because the guys who ended up in the roles were Stephen Toppers, Sean Hayes, and Will Sasso are damn near perfect. Want to get paid in you? You don't forget to I get the feeling that the casting big name stars is a studio thing. Fox was obviously concerned that the brand was too old to sell tickets, so they wanted to cast big names as the leads. Thankfully, the Farley prevailed, and Fox was able to cast guys who were right for the part. But it's not to say there isn't other casting issues in this movie, which brings me to my first big critique of this film: the pointless celebrity supporting cast. Because the studio put bank on 3 primarily TV actors as film leads, they decided to stuff this movie with as many big names as they could find. James Lynch, Jennifer Hudson, Kate Upton, Sofia Vergara, Dwight Howard, just to name a few. They need to get a pup. Step forward. Hell, Larry David is in this movie as a Catholic nun. I get the only one that actually works in the world. Thus, Dwight Howard. Whatever about these super names. Their films are often made up of the same dozen or so supporting actors, but the grumpy assured subjects department, they weren't big name stars. They were terrific supporting players.
I can hide in that cart.
Sofia Vergara is the main comedy actress. She actually steals the show in a lot of her scenes in modern fashion, but she just feels really out of place in the film. The same can be said for Jennifer Hudson, James Lynch, and Kate Upton. They are fine actresses in their own right, but they feel so out of place and bring to the story. The nuns in this film have been played by lesser-known character actresses that have sold the roles a lot better. The character actresses are the ones who really work and play up as well. Brian Doyle has tons of this. Oh, Lamb and movie. Oh, parts. I'm gonna have this hour. These commercials. Well, that's the club. Look at the sun in them. And Craig Guillermo both feel like they're lifted right out of the supporting cast of the original story. And the same can be said for a lot of other smaller characters in this film. Hey, hold up. How's about being a sport and letting us do the whole town? What do you say? Can't you read? They got it already. It's a family thing, family. It's like, what's your relation? Oddly enough, feels the same way. He's really good at playing a type of character we would have seen in the original studio stuff. I'm gonna show my first. It's still the night. I gotta go. My next big issue with the film is the concept. My favorite part is the talking together. and are mistaken as plumbers, but they end up destroying a mansion. Simple, perfect, hilarity ensues. You know what the plot of this film is? The three
I can hide in that cot.
As infants, where they grow up never getting adopted because they refuse to separate from one another, which causes unresolved tension amongst them. This leads to them still living as orphans as adults, and all the slapstick major may have caused over the years leads to finding showing the videos.
beef, 7 dozen eggs, 16 wheels of cheese, none of it French, don't worry. 5 bottles of whiskey, a couple dozen new uniforms, boots, leather for patching, blankets, a coat feed for the horses. What else? That's it? That's all there is?
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Simple, perfect.
Braddock refused the offer. There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they'd now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't sit well with me. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts them at a risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and children. Where is the general now?
I get this is a feature film, and it needs to be more complicated plot to carry. The slapsticks definitely shine here, but it's always undercut by a scene that has to add more dramatic exposition. And it's available.
Look, if you two got ants in your pants, then why don't you just leave? I'm getting sick and
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
In a handful of feature films the original studios made, they often learned the focus of the entire film. Their characters were kind of the backbone, the main plot and romantic elements. This allowed them to have a more natural place in the story, without giving their characters the responsibility to carry the film. I almost wish this had been the case here.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
But none of these parts stand alone. They're all connected and would not work out of context. The idea was half there. If they wanted to make a film that focused just on them, they should have just made 3 new
General Braddock refused the offer. There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they now have the upper hand.
They were about finding common scenarios out of mundane, everyday life. Some serious subjects like war or poverty, but they were also very simple stories. I feel like the studio mandated that all this extra shit...
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Growing up sheltered from the outside world. I like the idea there's orphanage that
Braddock refused the offer. There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all.
There's a scene where they fight infants. It's a little gross now, and I know some fans didn't like the scene.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
I'd like to see where Larry tries slapping earlier, but he doesn't do it just right.
Oh, I see. When most lucky, it's okay, but when Larry does it, it's not good enough.
General Braddock refused the offer. There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
Both tries to adjust his side on his own, but just ends up slapping him. But in fairness, that concept is really of society is represented by the cast of the Jersey Shore. I know we touched these levels of cast earlier, but man, I think we take for unnecessary things in this movie. The students have dramatic part in the scene,
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Therefore, thinking Mel would take those advances first and short. And I get what they were trying to do. They were planning to do everything and show the Jersey Shore's best yet with them. But then they also put them I'm sure they got millions of dollars for a week of shooting. It just doesn't make sense.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
It's the audience ready for this kind of slapstick. There are also a lot of sloppy story mistakes in this film. As I said, this next technique is really short, but later, when the same producer... Again, another studio thing that just doesn't fit the story at all. Is the audience ready for this kind of slapstick?
Damn it!
There are also a lot
Why,
of
George?
sloppy story mistakes.
What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't sit well with me either. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and widows because the Bulldog wanted to prove a point.
Where is the general now?
Rallying the troops.
And then it's on to Fort Duquesne, I assume?
Eventually. The march north will surely take time. There's a copy of the plans in the command tent should you wish to review them.
At least this will be ended soon.
I tried, John.
I know, my friend. I know.
That map will surely be of use. I need to find it.
It's obvious Fox had no idea how to sell this movie. Which brings me to the biggest problem I have with this movie, the marketing. This film had the worst marketing campaign.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
It showcases some of the worst jokes in the film, including iPhone dad and Jersey Shore. I got your first.
Mary?
A lot of the really impressive new slapstick sequences are nowhere to be found.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
All the problems I talked about with Stephen Havoc are represented in that first trailer. And then somewhere along the line, the movie began its advertised as The Three Stooges, the movie. Why? What does that mean? Did Fox really lack
There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they now have the upper hand.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
had no idea how the market is too. And I hate to break the box. Anyone watching who wasn't already familiar with the Three Stooges was not going to think.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
This movie has just always one audience to approach it. People already familiar with the Three Stooges. Those were the people that should be marketed. It should have been sold as a fun trip to the original Stooges. Stupid and good way to hear this kid was not their parents welcome. They could use the offer.
There will be no truce.
Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they'd now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't sit well with me either. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and widows because the Bulldog wanted to prove a point.
Where is the general now?
Rallying the troops.
And then it's on to Fort Duquesne, I assume?
Eventually. The march north will surely take time. There's a copy of the plans in the command tent should you wish to review them.
At least this will be ended soon.
I tried, Josh.
I know, my friend. I know.
That map will surely be of use. I need to find it.
Oh, shit. That was one of the best experiences of my life. None of the love for the studio that I was shown that day come across the studio's marketing for this film. Even the Rotten Tomatoes consensus rates, while nowhere near as painful as it could have been.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
The marketing
General Braddock refused the offer. There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution with no solution.
They don't act like the original students, where they carry the students so well. The love and respect for the original students. They're very similar. I would even love to die in perhaps then triumph. Despite all of this, I commend the filmmakers and cast for at least trying to make a love letter.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
As the consensus says, the Three Stooges have a cinematic legacy that will never grow old. Despite acting older than most people alive did, the Three Stooges will never die. Cut out all the
General Braddock refused the offer. There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict. One in which they'd now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't sit well with me either. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and widows because the Bulldog wanted to prove a point.
Where is the general now?
Rallying the troops.
And then it's on to Fort Duquesne, I assume?
Eventually. The march north will surely take time. There's a copy of the plans in the command tent should you wish to review them.
At least this will be ended soon.
I tried, John.
I know, my friend. I know.
That map will surely be of use. I need to find it. Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Legend that the Muskogee Indians used to raise horses at Dry Valley in what is now northern Alabama. The natives referred to the region as Tallahassee, or Morgantown. Eventually, as American colonists began to settle the surrounding lands, the border of the Native American territory gradually became shrinking. By 1813, Tallahassee had become a battleground as the Muskogee.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
The Tallahassee natives were
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
and helped General Andrew Jackson defeat the Redskins, and opposing faction were fighting to preserve the sovereignty of Indian territory. In 1830, President Andrew Jackson would repay the favor by ordering the removal of all indigenous tribes from the southern
There will
United
be no
States.
truce.
Disgraced by their patrons and betrayed by their
reason did he give?
allies,
He
the
said a
Tallahassee
diplomatic
Indians
solution was no
abandoned their
solution at all.
ancestral lands,
That allowing the
never
French to
returned.
retreat would only delay an
According to legend,
inevitable
as the
conflict.
Chinese that
One in
were
which
Dry
they now
Valley
have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't sit well with me either. We're far from home with our forces divided.
130 years
Worse,
later,
I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and widows because the bulldog wanted to prove a point.
Where is the general now?
Rallying the troops.
And then it's on to Fort Duquesne, I assume?
Eventually. The march north will surely take time. With a copy of the plans in the command tent, the beach trip will be ended soon. I tried, John. I know, my friends. I know.
That map will surely be of use. I need to find it.
Of a NASCAR race can be something truly special. The first Daytona 500 in 1959 immediately cemented the race as NASCAR's most prestigious event. NASCAR's first race at Indianapolis in 1954
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
but it attracted more entries.
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Talladega's inaugural race was also a spectacle, but not for the right reasons.
Hey, I'm Slash. This is the bridge
There will be no truth.
video footage widely considered to be the worst NASCAR race in history, which was the very first race ever held at Talladega. If you want all the nitty-gritty details, the link to the full video is in the description. To say that Talladega's very first event was controversial would be a massive understatement. It was unlike any other race ever held in NASCAR history for all the wrong reasons. First, the track was completed dangerously close.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
Bill France had gone into serious debt.
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
As soon as possible. In August, just a month before race day, Talladega holds its very first test. Despite topping out at 195 miles per hour, the driver showed concern at every relief. Donnie Allison, a multi-time winner in NASCAR's top division, said, "The track is as rough as a comet. It'd be a beautiful track. The only way they're going to
There will be no truth.
Meanwhile, Kelly Arthur said his time was
What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they'd now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't sit well with me either. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering.
Just a few laps. Goodyear and Firestone fly on Horton compound Thursday and Friday. Drivers are getting uppity, and by Friday, Firestone backs out, citing safety concerns. The drivers.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
Drivers Association.
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Openly of a potential walkout. And the president of the PDA, Richard Petty, the winningest NASCAR driver in history, intense negotiations with Bill France. But the straw that broke the camel's back was one exchange between France and Bobby Allison. Recent race just last week.
There will be no truth.
Well, I think you're just afraid of race.
What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they'd now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words,
Just like that,
as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't sit well with me either. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and widows because the bulldog wanted to prove a point.
Where is the general now?
Rallying the troops.
And then it's on to Fort Duquesne, I assume?
Eventually, the march north will surely take time. There's a copy of the plans in the command tent that we wish to review. The beach this will be ended soon. I tried.
I know, my friend. I know.
That map will surely be of use. I need to find it.
Brookhouse agrees to the deal and turns scan, giving the PDA that afternoon. So there it is, 500-mile race on a 6-6-mile track with just 3 cars in the mix. Bill France offers fans a special deal. If you buy a ticket for the inaugural race in Talladega, use that stuff to get into the Daytona 500 next year. With a 2-for-1 special that good, it turns out to go to down in Alabama. The Big Bill has one more trick up his sleeve to make the race less. He coaches drivers for the preliminary race on Saturday, the Grand American Series, who race smaller pony cars on the infield road course, not the big track. Instead of Chargers, Chevelles, Torinos, and Roadrunners, they race Camaros, Mustangs, Darts, and even
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
Were never intended to drive.
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
They barely do 160 miles an hour with wind at their backs. Not to mention, there's no way they could pass tech inspection. These are cars from a completely different series. So, Big Bill France calls audible and just changes the minimum speed requirements and the inspection templates, all with just a simple wave of the hand. And just in case any driver is thinking of backing out, he offers cash bonuses just to roll off the grid on top of the already stated winning spurs. But with so much tension looming in the air over this slapdash ramshackle affair of a race, the stage is set for a disaster to occur. It does, but not in the way anybody expected. That tire issue was resolved at the 11th hour. Goodyear flies in their last Hail Mary. Those tires finally held up. There wasn't a single tire failure that day. No, what did this race end was one of my favorite parts of old NASCAR racing, the scoring. Electronic transponders and TV scoring didn't exist yet, so officials would move placards on the desk to keep track of all the cars. If the officials agreed on the running order, then it was fine, but every once in a while they'd get it wrong. Well, that happened in this race. That's right, with only 3 cars being contested, NASCAR still lost track of Jim Vanderburg and Tony Ricketts, the two guys competing for the lead. Bobby Isaac was taking it easy, just worrying about finishing.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Declared the winner by NASCAR officials, but Jim Vanderburg and his car from the Ray Fox are adamant that they did. Even the radio call of two-time Cup Series champion Ed Jarrett thought Jim Vanderburg was in the lead. And I think it's worth noting that Jim was driving the older Dodge Charger and was not affiliated with Chrysler. Meanwhile, Brickhouse was driving the Dodge factory, and it was the first race ever for their Rumors persist that the scoring error was not an accident.
Why, John?
Chrysler executives
What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they now have the upper hand.
Richard Brickhouse's win stands, and he is absolutely elated with his first career Cup Series win. It is so sure that he'll be tapped to drive this car full-time next year that he uses his winnings to buy a brand new aircraft for himself. But unfortunately, he never got the call from Chrysler or anything for that matter. In a year's time, he was semi-retired and only racing a few times per year. So there it was, a disaster of a race.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
Tire scandal resulted in
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
A supercar that nobody got to see the full potential of. And of those two competitive cars out there on the track, they were driven by two guys nobody had ever heard of, and we're not even sure which one of them actually won the race. If this isn't the worst race in NASCAR history, then I really don't know what will.
So ends the tale of NASCAR's most disastrous race. And so
reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they now have the upper hand.
Stock car racing. The earliest races of the track are thought to be the most mysterious. They existed in a time before NASCAR was televised, and most of the footage from this era is either missing or not publicly available.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
Only the stories remain.
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
The Talladega woes would continue in 1973, which may have been the most tumultuous single year in the history of the track. That year's Winston 500 earned a dubious distinction as the only race in NASCAR's modern era to start with a field of 60 cars.
There will
a
be no
decision
truth.
that would immediately backfire.
Why, John? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict, one in which they now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't fit well with me either. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes him careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and widows because the bulldog wanted to prove a point.
Where is the general now? Rallying the troops. And then it's on to Fort Duquesne, I assume?
Eventually. The march north will surely take time. There's a copy of the plans in the command center should you wish to review them.
At least this will be ended soon. I know.
That map will surely be of use. I need to find it.
That Smith had tragically become Talladega's first fatality. Commentator Ken Squire was perplexed as the accident looked nowhere close to deadly. Smith's fatality was up but not to competitor Bobby Isaac. who would go on to do something even more inexplicable later in the day. Midway through the race, the 1970 champion would impulsively pull his car into the pits. It was at that moment, in the middle of the race, that Bobby Isaac decided to retire from full-time racing. Media outlets at the time reported that Isaac heard a voice in his head which told him to stop racing immediately. After missing the rest of the 1973 season, Isaac would periodically return to the track for a handful of races per year. In 1977, the 45-year-old driver collapsed while exiting his race car and would be pronounced dead the next day from cardiac arrest. At the time, Isaac held the NASCAR record for the fastest lap at Talladega, which he set in 1970. In 1975, racing legend Mark Donohue ran a time trial lap at Talladega with an average speed of 221 miles per hour, setting a closed circuit world record. Days later, Donohue was fatally wounded from a crash while practicing for the Austrian Grand Prix. On nearly the same day as Donohue's accident, beloved NASCAR driver Tiny Lund was struck and killed after another car collided with his driver's side door on the Talladega backstretch. In less than a decade of operation, Talladega Superspeedway had already been directly or indirectly linked to the deaths of 4 drivers. However, following the death of Tiny Lund, the Speedway spirits were left more timely on the track's active competitors. To this day, Tiny Lund remains the last driver to lose his life in a NASCAR race at Talladega. While drivers were on the track, there were never any guarantees inside of it. During the 1975 Winston 500, Richard Petty's car caught fire in the pits. As Petty's brother-in-law, Randy Owens, rushed to douse the flames with a fire hose, the nearby pressurized water...
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
In 1977, veteran driver David Sisko was competing at Talladega when he was greeted by a terrible sight. His mother had been struck and killed by a pickup truck near the garage area. Sisko was apparently so devastated that he would never attempt another NASCAR race. Unbelievably, this wouldn't be the last pickup truck-related death in Talladega. In 1996, the president of ARCA was T-boned in the park.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
Died from his injuries.
Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Take it all on fridges, dishwashers, dressers, floors, couches, mattresses, bed frames, things like that. They know it's more things.
Just get car professionals. You know you're making a difference. We found some paper and cardboard out of the shop. So I'm just throwing this stuff in the dirt. You're actually some trick shows where it needs to go. That's good.
Along with it,
Anyways. I have one more.
Almost detected. That ain't true.
Of inexplicable tragedy, the early days of Talladega also housed some of the most bizarre mysteries that stock car racing has ever known. On the morning of the 1974 Talladega 500,
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
Drivers had been sabotaged. Teams inspected their vehicles and discovered slashed tires, cut oil lines, and gas tanks filled with sand. The extent of the sabotage was only fully realized during the race, as many drivers began experiencing mechanical failures as soon as they hit the track. Miraculously, no drivers were injured in the fiasco. Fully realized during the race, as many drivers began experiencing mechanical failure.
Horse feathers.
Pardon?
Shit.
That didn't work out. Well, fun.
As soon as they hit the track. Miraculously, no drivers were injured in the fiasco, but sabotaging so many race cars at a track as fast as Talladega was practically attempted mass murder. Authorities launched an
Those cannons are like to cause trouble.
Perpetrator, but were unable
Perhaps
to
I
identify
could
the
sabotage them.
suspect. Whoever sabotaged the cars did not leave a trace of evidence, and to this day, the Talladega Tamperer remains at large. Following the worst vehicular sabotage in NASCAR history, the track amped up security for future events, and while they succeeded at keeping future delinquents out of the garage, they didn't think to check whether one could wind up behind the wheel. Prior to the 1982 Winston 500, a few drivers expressed confusion at an unfamiliar name on the entry list for the race. A man by the name of had purchased a race car for $20,000, which he entered in that week's race at Talladega. Despite claiming to be a seasoned stock car racing veteran, no other driver had ever heard of him. However, in the age before detailed record keeping, it was somewhat plausible that a driver could have honed their skills in some middle of nowhere town. The mysterious driver managed to qualify for the race, despite wrecking his car on just the second lap of the track. As the crew was repairing the car for race day, Wright seemed unable to answer basic questions that any driver should have known. Suspicion aside, Wright managed to line up for Sunday's race and take the green flag. Immediately, it was clear that the number 34 Chevrolet was dangerously off the pace. Wright was quickly lapped by the leaders and was ordered by NASCAR to retire from the race.
So LW Wright again given the black flag as he passes by us, and Wright has been ordered to the pit area.
After pulling into the pits, Wright got out of his car, flipped into the infield and was never seen again. It turned out that L.W. Wright was an imposter and had conned investors out of nearly $50,000 so that he could race alongside NASCAR's biggest stars. To this day, the true identity of L.W. Wright remains unknown. His alias persists as one reason the rest of that may always be shrouded in mystery. Letting what was essentially an average Joe mess around with a sanctioned professional sporting event, NASCAR would tighten up their standards for who exactly was allowed on the track. However, while paying more scrutiny to the drivers in the race cars, there was one other car they forgot about.
Well, the pace car, we said it's been stolen. The officials are not riding this thing, and somebody has actually gotten the pace car and stolen.
At the 1986 Winston 500, 20-year-old Darren Crowder stole the pace car that had been left unoccupied on pit road. He completed a full circuit at over 100 miles per hour before the police set up a blockade and took him into custody. During the whole
Spirit!
The 2,000 fans cheered wildly. Growing up, we're all told to respect the law of the land, but sometimes you just gotta root for the rebel. After the Muskogee Indians were forced to vacate their lands, most obeyed the order and subjected themselves to the infamous Trail of Tears. Some of the natives, however, refused to go west to the Indian Territory and instead chose to keep their destiny in their own hands. A few Muskogee turned their sights instead towards the south, in the mostly uninhabited territory of Florida. The subtropical peninsula had become known as a safe haven for refugees of the expanding American Empire. Together with various other displaced natives and escaped African slaves, the remnants of the Muskogee would integrate into a new tribe, the Seminole. Although they too were forced to abandon their way of life like all the others, at the very least, for the time being, they were free. In 1819, Spain ceded the Florida Territory to the United States, and concerns of relocation immediately returned. Although the Seminole briefly received a reservation on the peninsula, it wouldn't be long until the federal government once again demanded they move out west. After already sacrificing so much, the Seminole refused to budge, and after Chief Osceola shot and killed federal agent Wiley Thompson, they found themselves at war with the might of the U.S. military. As the American troops marched into Florida, the Seminole warriors would soon be outnumbered by as much as 10 to 1. Needless to say, they were heavy underdogs. Talladega Superspeedway has always been unusually favorable to underdogs. The relative ease with which drivers can navigate the track opens the door for the occasional David to contend with NASCAR's Goliaths. In addition to the fluke win of Richard Brickhouse in the inaugural race, 5 other drivers would score their one and only career victory in the first 20 years of competition at Talladega, by far the most of any track in the sport. In the early days of the track, winning at Talladega was a matter of endurance. Completing 500 miles at the longest circuit in the sport was a daunting task for even the most dominant race teams. Putting yourself in position to win was often as simple as overcoming the attrition of your competitors. Eventually, most teams figured out how to make their machines go the distance, and the name of the game shifted to speed. In spite of its many trials and tribulations, Talladega Superspeedway has always managed to draw in fans for one simple reason. There's no other place on Earth where you can witness so many cars go so fast. The track's 33-degree corners allow drivers to maintain incredible momentum throughout the circuit. Talladega may be the only track in all of racing to complete an entire lap without ever touching the brake pedal.
What news?
Braddock has left to rally his troops. They're marching on Fort Duquesne. It'll be a while yet till they're ready, which gives us time to form a plan.
No need. We will ambush him here near the river. Go and gather your allies. I will do the same. I will send word when it is time to strike.
Stock cars are considerably slower than open-wheel cars, but soon enough, they too would begin approaching the danger zone. Bugsy Isaac managed to break the 200-mile-per-hour barrier as early as 1970, but rule changes to the cars brought speeds down to the 180s for most of the decade. Gradually, though, speeds began to creep back up, and in 1982, Benny Parsons would once again reach 200, becoming the first NASCAR driver to eclipse the mark in a qualifying lap. 1 year later, Dale Yarborough would reach 202, surpassing Bobby Isaac's 13-year-old record. 1985 would mark the arrival of the fastest man in NASCAR history, Bill Elliott, who would qualify for the Winston 500 with a monster lap of 209 miles per hour. Elliott's car was so much faster than the competition that after a ruptured oil pump forced him into the pits, Elliott would overcome a 5-mile deficit under green to retake the lead by the end of the race. Even after burning several minutes on pit road, Elliott had just ran the fastest race in NASCAR history, completing 500 miles in just over 2 hours and 41 minutes. 2 years later, Bill Elliott would complete a 2 2/3-mile lap at Talladega under 45 seconds, setting an average speed of 212.8 miles per hour. It was at this point that the entire sport of stock car racing would discover that they had ventured too far into unwelcome territory.
Talladega, it means speed, it means competition, and speed certainly something we've seen a lot of this weekend, Larry. 8 drivers exceeded 210 miles per hour. The identical front row as last year, Bill Elliott on the pole and Bobby Allison alongside.
Bobby Allison spent a brief period as NASCAR's most popular driver, and at Talladega, the Alabama-born racing legend was always a fan favorite. On May 3rd, 1987, Bobby Allison came inches away from becoming one with the fans. After a mechanical failure sent his car spinning down the tri-oval, Bobby Allison found himself at the center of the most frightening near miss in NASCAR history. The Talladega pace had become so fast that even a slight aberration was enough to transform any of the 40 vehicles on track into a 2-ton projectile. Just as everyone was starting to forget about the Talladega curse, the track would produce an incident so ominous that it would fundamentally alter the future of stock car racing. One may consider it benevolent of the curse to spare everyone on that day, but the story of Talladega's most dangerous race doesn't end here. Following Bobby Allison's spine-chilling accident, the fastest field in NASCAR history would be conquered by the heir to the Allison throne, Davey Allison, who scored his first career victory on the same day that his father cheated death. 6 years later, fate would repay the favor.
A sad note in sports today.
The cold,
Racer Davey Allison died this morning after the helicopter he was piloting crashed yesterday at the infield of Talladega Speedway down in Alabama. Davey Allison, a great champion and a good friend of ours, was
Hard
32.
at work, I see.
How did you...
Although his life
It is
and career were cut tragically short, Davey Allison's legacy will always be etched in the 1987 Winston 500. Possibly the most influential single
First
race
it was too cold.
in history.
Now it's too goddamn hot.
The last NASCAR driver to ever reach the 212 mark.
And humid
After
too.
this race,
It's an 8
Super
swamp, I
Speedways
tell you.
entered the age of the restrictor plate, a new component to the intake manifold designed to limit horsepower and keep speeds under 200 miles per hour.
Warm weather and bugs are soon to be the least of our worries.
Changed the game and spawned a form of racing so
What?
sensationally
You mean the
that no
Bulldog?
other motorsport in the world
Please,
close
we'll
to
be in
running
that
the
one's
game.
beef soon
Plate
enough and
racing
on to the
takes
next.
traditional racing technique and turns it on its head.
Where's your
It's
boy
a
Lee
format that
gone?
can allow the 30th place car to be within 2 seconds.
Returned to finish out his
Each
service
lap
under
after
Braddock.
lap, live traffic. Rather than raw
I imagine the
driving
Bulldog's none
winning
too
a
pleased
restricted
after
plate
the stuff
race
we
relies on the driver's patience, timing, and decision.
Pleased to spin a tale of my incompetence and beg forgiveness. He is away with words, especially when it comes to flattery. I expect he'll be welcomed back with open arms.
Restrictor plates would usher in the era of NASCAR.
Which would give us a man
The
inside.
new era of Omega.
Precisely.
Out of your windshield. Oh my gosh.
Unless you've
Of
underestimated
the
our enemy.
to make the sport safer. Super Speedways are
If I have, Charles will sense it first and make his escape.
The frequency of wrecks skyrocketed as drivers now had far less margin for error in Florida's traffic. With so many opportunities for calamity, the drivers would start discovering inconceivable methods to wreck a race.
They come.
Talladega had always been a place that pushed the limits of what
Everything all right, sir?
track.
Just savoring the moment. No doubt, many wonder why it is we've pushed so far west. These are wild lands, as yet untamed and unsettled. But it shall not always be so.
The event would be remembered most.
In time, our holdings will no longer suffice. And that day is closer than you think. We must ensure our people have ample room to grow and further prosper. Which means we need more land.
20 years to the day after the tragedy.
The French understand this and endeavor to prevent such growth. They skirt around our territory, erecting forts and forging alliances, awaiting the day they might strangle us with the noose they've built. This must not come to pass. We must sever the cord and send them back. This is why we ride, to offer them one last chance. The French will leave, or they will die.
Now's the time to strike.
Wait. To scatter the expedition is not enough. We must ensure that Braddock falls, else he's sure to try again. Disguise myself as one of his own and make my way to his side. Your ambush will provide the perfect cover for me to deliver the killing blow.
The mayhem was only half over. On lap 132, Neil Bonnet's car was sent tumbling into the tribal catch fence. Thankfully, after Bobby Allison's accident, NASCAR had strongly reinforced the line between the spectators and the action.
We await your signal.
Yet another tragedy. While it came very close,
There, in front of us.
500 did not live up to its moniker. The event was going to be remembered as the race.
Kill them!
He refused to stay inside the track. The next time the country returned to Talladega, there's much more to discover the true need for something. Talladega has the strange ability to send cars in seemingly any direction. In a few cases, that direction would be up. The blowover is one of the most ethereal moments that any racing fan can witness. We all know cars on a regular basis. Most of us would have to use all of our strength to get to the fudge and the bridge. And to think that something as light as air could be powerful enough to lift a two-ton machine off the earth.
One false move and the whole thing is sure to fall over.
Anyone call this forest home?
When the French push back, there'll be a lot of opportunities for us up north.
Yes.
737 to take off, but it will take off at 100 miles an hour. These cars are 85, reflect their job to keep that car from getting way up.
You are grateful to have served.
In 1996, the Talladega
Edward.
Pros finally come forward.
Not so fun on the other end of the barrel, is it?
737 trying to take off.
Look out!
Take off at 160 some miles an hour. These cars are running 185. Reflect their job to keep that car from getting way up in the air.
Sir.
In 1996,
Where are you off to?
Finally caught up to Bill Elliott, who suffered a broken leg after his car soared across the backstretch grass. One of the most spectacular rollovers. Elliott sadly hit over a full sector there as his car exited the kilometers away. The 38 FX4 must have covered the length of the football field without touching the ground.
Oh,
For the following season, returned to Talladega. The only driver in history of the race and stopped at It's one thing to watch on that from experience one from inside a race car is a sensation most of us can only imagine. A NASCAR engine is 140 decibels, but in an airborne car, many drivers report a great moment whenever